Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new edition of the Daily Debate. I'm Henny Saif. In tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the 70th session of the UN General Assembly. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi delivered Egypt's speech to the Assembly, where he tackled a lot of regional, international and internal issues, also talking about the fight against terrorism file. We're also going to be talking about the televised interview he gave to the CNN news channel earlier. Also today, he was part of the counter-terrorism summit that was called for by the US President Barack Obama. We're going to be also talking about the economic development that he highlighted in his yesterday. But before we do so, let's check out this report regarding President Sisi's speech to the 70th session of the UN General Assembly, and we'll be right back with our distinguished guests.
Addressing the 70th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said terrorist organizations are exploiting political crises in the Middle East to expand and achieve their objectives, warning of the dangers of this threat expanding to regions including the occupied Palestinian territory. He said resolving the Palestinian conflict and allowing the Palestinian people to exercise their right to self-determination and to an independent state will effectively eliminate one of the most dangerous pretexts behind extremism and terrorism. El-Sisi said a UN-backed peace plan for Libya is a milestone that should be built on and called on Syrian parties to contribute with all vigor in efforts to negotiate a political resolution to their country's civil war. El-Sisi's speech tackled youth and development, combating extremism, and the need for a coordinated international effort to fight it. He held talks with world leaders, including French Hollande, Yemeni President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi, the Jordanian King Abdullah II, Cyprus President Nikos Anastasiades, and Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko. The talks tackled a number of regional and international issues of mutual interest. The president also met with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, where he praised the role of German companies in Egypt's economic development. El-Sisi also spoke at the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG Summit, and he met with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and attended a high-level roundtable on South-South cooperation chaired by China and the United Nations, saying developing countries must increase their focus on international economic cooperation. President Sisi also met with UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, Senegalese President Macky Sall, and Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. His talks with Ban centered on the situation in the Middle East and efforts to combat terrorism and means of achieving sustainable development and curbing the negative effect of climate change. In a televised interview with CNN News Channel, President Sisi tackled many issues from freedom of expression in Egypt to Syria's future and the Iran nuclear deal. He said Egypt, along with its partners in the region, are exerting its utmost efforts to combat the terrorist group in Syria and Iraq. The president expressed hope that Syria would not fall in the hands of Daesh. He said that Egypt was making many efforts to combat terrorism, not only with security solutions, but also with the reform of religious discourse in the country. He hailed the strategic relations that bind Egypt and the U.S. in various fields, adding that Egypt's relations with the U.S. go beyond military aid Egypt receives from the United States. He also confirmed that Egypt enjoys unprecedented freedom of expression and that no one in Egypt was executed for expressing his views during his presidency. Regarding the Iranian nuclear deal, the president welcomed any initiative or procedure that would push back tension and the ghosts of war in the already troubled Middle East.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight we're joined here in the studio by engineer Mdhat Esطفانوس, the Vice President of the Egyptian-Greek Business Council, joined by Ambassador Dr. Samir Burhan, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome.
First of all, Ambassador Dr. Burhan, now this is the second speech by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to the UN General Assembly since he assumed office. He tackled a lot of internal, international, regional issues. Some of them we expected, but what are the main topics that you felt important to address this time around?
Thank you very much for this question. I think the stress by our President and President Fattah al-Sisi on the sustainable development. This is one thing which has never talked before by our President to the General Assembly. This is one thing. I think the stress also was on the terrorism and terrorism as an international phenomena. So I think Egypt is terrorism not for herself or for her interests, but for the interests of all the entire world. This is the second. I think also he talked with the CNN, I think, about the widening of the peace agreement to include some other countries in the area. This is also a new, because I think as Egypt and Jordan has signed with Israel an agreement, it is up time now to look into the a peace to envelope all the entire area. So I think Israel should be ready to discuss this question with not only with the Palestinians, as they are the people who has the first interest in the area, but with other Arab countries which I mean the Arab countries which would like to open up or widen up the peace accords between the Arabs and Israel. I think this is the main topics which caught my eyes.
Yes. Well, we'll definitely be delving into some of these issues. Engineer Esطفانوس, now, a lot of emphasis was also on the economic development taking place in Egypt and the economic outlook that the country has for the future. One of the main things that the President pointed out, obviously, was the expansion of the Suez Canal project. Now, this is a very important, a big deal for the Egyptian economy, but how much do you feel the international community felt that they would benefit from such a project? And do you feel that there is still more to be done for Egypt to head into the path economically?
In fact, I do believe that the success of the development of Suez Canal region globally will set a new dimension and a new boundaries for the international business competition all over the world. So emphasizing on the sides of such giant project and clarify the importance of the location, the geopolitics of this area, and also the economic, let's say, factors which will affect the global competition from this area is very essential to be clear to the world. And I think it was a golden opportunity talking to the majority of the world leaders in such gathering to promote the project and to highlight these dimensions, new dimensions. I do believe that focusing on this and continue working on this strategically from our side as Egyptian government will lead to a new era.
Yes, definitely. Ambassador Dr. Burhan, now, one of the main issues that were discussed by many countries as well was the Palestinian file, and within the recent escalations and developments taking place at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, all the countries are agreeing upon the necessity of returning to the negotiating table. And as you've mentioned, also the President highlighted the importance of actually having peace deals with Israel that would include many other Arab states. How realistic or how feasible is that? Is it easy for others to sign other peace deals with Israel in light of what's happening now in Al-Aqsa Mosque? Is it easy for President Mahmoud Abbas and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to get back to the negotiating table and finding a deal, or is this another step in the series, the soap opera that we're watching regarding the Palestinian file?
I think this is a very complex issue, because I think President Mahmoud Abbas and Netanyahu wants to come to the negotiating table with some concessions from Israel, and I think the Palestinians will accept any concession which would put by the Israelis on the table. As for the other Arab countries, I think every Arab country has to weigh its benefits and its interests in the peace accords with Israel. But at this moment, I think by the blockage of Gaza and the attack on the Aqsa Mosque, I think this will refrain more Arab countries or other Arab countries to reach out or to get into negotiating table with Israel. So I think now the ball is in the field of Israel. So if Israel wants to have a global peace with the entire Arab world, I think this is up time to put it on the table or to put it on their agenda. But as for the moment, I can't see. Although we are for widening this peace agreement between the Arabs and the Israel, but at the moment, I don't any other countries we venture to come to the negotiating table with Israel without an Israeli proposals or Israeli concessions on the table.
And with President Sisi highlighting that we should get back to the borders of the 1967 borders.
This is I think this is the hard concession which is put on the table, that the Palestinian state has to be established on the borders of 1967 with the East Jerusalem as its capital. I think this is all the Arabs and nearly all the international community is agreeing on this principle.
Yes. Engineer Esطفانوس, now over the past year or so, we've been talking about a lot of presidential and governmental visits to different countries: China, Russia, France, Italy, even to the US, where the president met with a lot of the American investors. And we also had the economic conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, and a lot of hopes and aspirations were tied and hanging on to such a conference. Do you feel that we have actually, after getting all this over and done with, do you feel that we've actually been taking forwards? Are we following up on these conferences? Are we following up on these visits? Are they only government-to-government deals, not really dealing with individual foreign investors or between multinationals?
Look, the international business world, in fact, always looking at what you are saying and also watching what you are doing. Egypt gave a very reliable model or example when they talk about the Suez Canal and they implement what they have said, what the president promised in time, in a very, let's say, remarkable way. On the other hand, when we look at the economy conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, there was a lot of promising projects there with, let's say, unexpected or hope to implement certain level of success on that, which was not there. This was, let's say, highlighting the gap between the willing and the ability to do with the governmental bureaucracy. The success of Suez Canal project was related to the fact that you have separated totally this project out of the governmental bureaucracy, and you did it successfully. On the other hand, what went to the governmental bureaucracy faced a lot of difficulty. This also clarified the need to look at the performance of the governmental organization in order to be able to cope with the requirements of achievement which we are looking for as a country. And here we have to highlight also that the rhythm and the performance of the president and his team is far from the government, and it's I understand that the government is facing a lot of difficulties, and it's all accumulated along decades, but we have to find our way. Otherwise we will say and will not be able to achieve what we have said, and people are always looking to see us walking the talk.
Yes. Well, do you feel that with all the discussions regarding the investment law and changing or developing the investment law, and also the rhythm of the government now, a new government was sworn in recently, do you feel that we are going in the right direction, or it's still...
in fact, it's not enough to go in the right direction. We are in need for decisions, for achievements. Not only to consume time saying that we are in the right direction. Yes, we are in the right direction. But what was achieved? If you look at the investment law, the new investment law, it's in the box because the regulation still not there. And also, you cannot just rely on a new law while you have hundreds of laws which can stop the new law from being effective. So this conflict has to be diluted and solved in order to say that we are on the right.
Yes, definitely. Ambassador Dr. Burhan, now one of the issues that also the President addressed in his speech was the migration crisis, which all the European countries are now suffering from and actually holding talks regarding that. And he also highlighted Egypt receiving a lot of refugees and trying to provide the proper health and the proper economic means to sustain these refugees, and it is not an easy job. Did you feel or sense any opinion coming from Egypt what the European countries should do? How did you view his talk regarding the migration crisis?
This is a very, difficult question and immoral in the same time. Because I think the West, especially, or the neighboring countries which are neighbors of Syria and Iraq and the other Arab countries, Libya as well, which has so many refugees, were silent for a lot of time. Then they have waken up on the photograph or the picture of the which was drawn by the waves on the shore. It was immoral, I think, because they shouldn't have kept silent at that long time, and they should have acted on the spur of the moment, because the flood of the immigrants from Syria, Iraq, Libya was so great, and I think we have lost many souls in the Mediterranean, their life to to cross the Mediterranean to the shores of Greece, Italy, and Cyprus as well. So I think by focusing on this issue by our president in the United Nations, I think he has, clear the point to the conscience of the world, because you, the West, you, the neighboring countries, you should have on this question, not so far keeping silent. So this is one thing. The other thing, I think our president is asking indirectly for places or states like Jordan, Cyprus, Egypt as well, Lebanon, to have a financial aid, because these countries are poor countries in a way. They cannot cope up with the situation of a flood of from those countries. And I think the United Nations, especially, I think Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, should have picked up the signal by our president and should, address the United Nations General Assembly, the Security Council, especially the 5 members, permanent members of the Security Council, to tackle with this question, because it is a humanitarian one, it is a moral one, and the government of the world has kept silent.
Yes. Engineer Stefanos, now, I have one last question regarding the Suez Canal. Everyone was amazed by the rate that we actually finished the first stage of actually the dredging and the digging of the canal within 1 year. Now, the more difficult stages, which is actually developing the areas around the canal, and a lot of promise regarding having lots of ports and harbors and multinationals and having a free Russian trade zone there. Now, being the Vice President of the Egyptian-Greek Business Council, do you feel that, for instance, are there Greek investors inquiring about the possibility of actually having projects or investments regarding the Suez Canal from other countries, from other chambers of commerce in Egypt? Are we actually moving as fast regarding the second and the third stage of the expansion of the Suez Canal as we were for the first one?
The willing is there for everyone. But you did not promote to the world the detailed plan of developing the Suez Canal. I think the government is still working on that, and this has to be clarified and promoted in a way that can convince the investors to put their, let's say, their demand in this area. We have to think about it in a way of promoting the value of being there, the facilities which we are going to offer as a country for the investor there. And we should not target a lot of industries. I mean, there is no value of moving industries from the new urban cities, industrial cities in the country to that area. No, we need to attract new industries, new giant industries whom they are affected by the logistics cost all over in the international trading. This is the added value of being there in this location. You will be in the center of the world, and you can go everywhere in a very competitive cost.
Yes.
So this is what we have to focus on, and what we have to promote and to sell it to the investors. As long as you have said that this will be the last question about it, I don't want also talking about the climate change conference of the because this is a very sensitive issue. We have to be very let's say, concern about it as an emerging countries.
Yes.
Because it's a very bright title, but what is hidden is not easy.
Yes, definitely. Ambassador Dr. Borhan, looking at the televised interview that the President held with the CNN earlier, one of the main questions that really reflects also a concern for the American public was the freedom of expression and how much is it visible and felt within Egypt. How do you feel, the President said that there is a huge room for freedom of expression. How do you explain this concern or curiosity regarding freedom of expression nowadays from the US in Egypt? And how do you feel the President tackled such a question?
I think our President has tackled this question in a very clever way, because he has highlighted that the judiciary is separated from the executive, and this principle of separation of power is there, and the executive and mainly the President have not interfered in the judicial procedures. This is one thing. The other thing, they have highlighted the issue of the Australian newsman who has been released, Hamad Fahmy, I think his name. So I think they were worried about the Canadian and the Australian newsmen who were kept in the prison or in cell. So I think this is quite normal for the international media to inquire about the freedom of speech, the freedom of congregation, the freedom in the Constitution, which has to be applied to the sense. So I think our President has taken the question in a way to convince the man who has posed the question that Egypt is doing its utmost in a climate of terrorism.
Yes.
So I think the President has replied well.
Yes. Engineer Esstefanoos, also in this interview, the President said that the relationship between Egypt and the US is much more than a military cooperation or a military aid sort of relationship. And we've seen before that the President, when he went to the States, and he met a lot of the biggest names of the American business world, we were expecting a lot of American investments coming to Egypt afterwards. And in light of this visit, also met with a lot of American investors and within the British American Business Council as well. And there were huge promises and still hope for a lot of strong American investment coming to Egypt after the past few years witnessing a lot of political developments. Do you feel that we will be witnessing a lot of American investments? Do you feel, how strong do you feel the relationship between both countries are beyond this military cooperation?
The military cooperation is something strategic, and it's as important as to the United States. So they are not doing this because they love us.
Yes.
It's a mutual benefit for both countries, and that's why it's there, and it's let's say the star of the cooperation. If you go to if you look at the economical let's say cooperation or business investment or whatever, you never see the American companies going to any place to invest unless it's their benefit. They will not come here to help Egypt. They will come here to help themselves. So as long as this is not foreseen for them, the experience we have seen along the decades proved that. They will come to drill for oil, for natural gas, for business to allow their machine to work more, they will do that. And if you notice, the President Sisi never go to the United States specifically for that. He did not even visit the States. He went twice to the United Nations. So it was because he is there and because of the active, let's say, American-Egyptian Chamber of Commerce and the relation there, they do this. I look at it as a kind of social gathering. I'm not expecting anything from this. But if you look to the specifics of the president to attract investors, he's going to the right places, to Europe and to the Far East. And this is where you can really find the strategic alliance in business, and they look more for Egypt as a hub for their investment in order to be closer to the international market.
Well, as you pointed out, talking about mutual benefits, do you feel that the discovery of natural gas in the Mediterranean, do you feel that this is something that could attract foreign investors coming to Egypt, or do you feel that this will be something that Egypt will extract and they will probably, the country will use it, will just use it for being self-sufficient in terms of natural gas and energy?
I don't think that Egypt will repeat the mistake. We have treated our natural gas in a very bad way in the past. We were not, let's say, recognizing the value added which can be created from having natural gas resources. I think that we have learned, our learning curve increased dramatically. We faced a severe crisis in energy and fuel. And I think this time we look at it in a different way. Attracting foreign investors, you cannot extract the natural gas without having foreign investors because the know-how is very limited around the world. And now we have Italian partners in this, and being in the Mediterranean, I think this will, let's say, limited to Mediterranean investors.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, still we have more to come regarding the combating terrorism. Also, we're going to be talking about the climate change and the initiative of hope and youth that will be unveiled in Egypt shortly. But first off, let's check out this report regarding the Palestinian issue and the president saying that it remains an issue for all Arab states, and we'll be right back.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi told Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in a meeting in New York that the Palestinian National Authority must take charge of the crossings in and out of the Gaza Strip and restore control to the coastal area. The Sisi's Palestinian issue remains an issue for all Arab states, and in a press interview, he said he would like to see Egyptian-style peace treaties with Israel extended to include other countries of the region. He asserted that resolving the Palestinian question could change the face of the region and bring about enormous improvement to the situation. The comments were lauded by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who urged Abbas once again to return immediately to the negotiating table to advance the diplomatic process. He called for an international solution to end escalating attacks on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which he called serious violations of Islamic sanctities. He said the security measures taken by Egypt along the border with Gaza were not aimed at harming Palestinians, noting that the measures were taken by Egypt to secure its eastern borders and are in full coordination with the Palestinian National Authority and could not have the aim of harming the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. President Sisi said the Middle East region needs to cooperate to defeat a worsening terrorist threat that has led to a ferocious war and created the danger of some countries sliding into failure. Sisi said that regional security is in its most vulnerable state, saying there is an increase in extremist groups as well as the problems of refugees that are flowing into Europe. The president said he could change the face of the region and bring about enormous improvement to the situation, referring to the civil war that has shattered Syria and he confirmed that Syria should not be divided after its civil war.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, continuing our discussion and our debate with my distinguished guest, Ambassador Dr. Now, fighting Daesh, combating terrorism, Egypt and a lot of countries have been saying that this is an international threat. It's not just affecting these Arab states or just the Middle East and African region. It will spill over the whole world. And we've seen it recently in a lot of the terrorist attacks. We've seen it in the recruitment process of these groups. Now, still, the president is calling for international unity in fighting Daesh. He also participated in combating terrorism meeting that was held today, called for by the American President Barack Obama. Do you feel now, after these meetings and after everyone addressing such a problem, do you feel that there will be steps taken regarding the situation?
We hope so. We hope that there will be a practical steps to fight terrorism and not to let the regional powers, I mean in the area, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Libya, Yemen as well, to fight this internal terrorism on their own. So I think these countries needs so many things to fight international terrorism, because as you have already said, that the Daesh and the Qaeda and all those factions, terrorism factions, may be spill over to other countries, and especially the neighboring countries like Israel, like Cyprus, Greece. All those countries are in the first shot. So I think by focusing on the international sector or international phenomena of the terrorism, I think is pointing out the international community to bear its responsibilities. So I think we have already signaled to the international community that there is a threat there, and we have to fight this threat united together. Not to let us fight an international terrorism for the entire whole world. So I think it was a clear signal from our president to the international community, and I think indirectly, I think those countries, I mean Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Libya and Yemen, are in need for technology, weapons, armament, know-how, whatever it is to fight this terrorism. I mean, we will not have the upper hand upon terrorism unless we can fight it with the support of the international community, with the aid of the international community, and to stop recruiting the international terrorists in the West, in the United States, because some of those terrorism are not Arabs or not Muslims at all. They come from Germany, France, Italy, United Kingdom, United States, other areas. So I think an international phenomena has to be fought by international.
Yes. Well, as you've mentioned, the Arab states need a lot of the technical support in terms of at least military equipment. Now, Egypt was not so, it didn't really get even the Apache helicopters that they've been asking the United States for to fight the terrorist and extremist elements in Sinai that easily. Do you think that that will change?
Because I think as for the issue of the Apache, I think the Americans has released the 17 or 18 Apache which were sent for repair in the United States. I think the United States has already released that. But I think we need more than that. We need know-how, technology. I think technology by space, you see, by satellites to to give out the exact location of those terrorists and where they are hiding. So I think we need international technology or international know-how in this dire fight against against the terrorism.
Yes. Go ahead,
if you
please.
allow me, I just
Please
want
do.
to comment here and to take the chance of having our ambassador here as an expert. I do believe that the rules of the game never change by domination, but by competition. And having Russia now being on the stage as an active player in this subject will lead mainly Europe to behave independently to a certain extent, independently than the United States. I'm traveling a lot to Europe, and I feel from discussion with Europeans that they are not in line with the directions of the United States in dealing with this. And if you look at the fighting with eyes, I never see it a serious fight till the move of Russia as a player being present on the ground in Syria now with their own weapons and reinforcing their presence there and start talking about ISIS on the ground, not just by this Mickey Mouse fighting. I think this cornered Europe mainly, and you can watch or notice some basic changes in the attitude of different countries in Europe. Having, I think France now is interfering in Syria by air force still, but they were not there before. Germany started talking, and also the migration, this huge migration from these countries to Europe is creating a pressure.
Yes.
Added to that, Europe now under the threat of the lefts being succeeded again in Greece. And it started visible in Italy, in Spain, and in some other countries. This start put threat on the European system.
Yes.
The current European system, and they have to gain credibility in front of their people.
Yes. Well, as you've mentioned now, Russia showing up being a very important player in the developments taking place in the region. It was very highlighted how the US President Barack Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin had different ideas about resolving the situation in Syria. Now, the American president said there is no way to actually resolving the conflict in Syria unless Bashar al-Assad leaves office. However, the Russian president said that...
Did he say no way? Or he said, I cannot imagine?
He said, I can't imagine, and he said, if another country, such as Russia, says that any other way would be much worse than what's happening now, is not a solution. And the Russian president said that, no, there is still room for political maneuver. There could, elections could be one way out of it. So with these two main powers actually having conflicting views regarding solving the Syrian crisis, do you think that this is something that will delay the process of actually resolving the situation?
I see the Russians are more pragmatic than the Americans dealing with this. The Russians believe that you will never solve the problem having manpower and military forces on the ground. And the only one can offer this now is Bashar al-Assad. He is the one fighting for how many years now? 4 years? Still there. So I don't think that they are in love with Bashar al-Assad, but they are more pragmatic than the Americans. And the Americans can back from their previous attitude that Assad should disappear, he has no future, all these kind of things. And it will never come on one step. So when Obama said, I cannot imagine, yes, he cannot imagine because his imagination is limited. When he will widen the paradigm a month from now, he will imagine. And then the situation will change.
Yes. Well, on President Sisi, talking about the Syrian conflict, said that he stressed that it's very important that Syria is not divided into smaller regions, because this will just increase the conflict and how difficult it is to fight extremists and armed conflicts there. Do you feel that Egypt is siding with the or shares the ideas of President Barack Obama or Putin, or are we trying to be quite diplomatic enough to just see how things are going and work for the benefit of Syria?
I think our president is representing the Arab views, the entire Arab views, because we can see that so many nations, I don't want to name them by name, you see, wanted Syria to be divided. Some nations, regional or international, want Syria to be divided for their own benefit. If we can choose one, I can say Israel, one of them, and so many other countries. But for the security of the Arab community, for security of the Arab as a whole nations, Syria should be united. Syria should be not to be divided. And it was clear signal by our president that we wanted to keep Syria as one state, not divided to any other parts. So I think it was in a way, this is what Mr. Putin can see, because he wants to see al-Assad in office. Al-Assad is still there, and as long as al-Assad is still there, Syria is not to be divided. But the moment Assad steps down, I think this is the moment in which Syria will be divided into 2, 3, 4, and maybe more than factions, and every faction has to establish its own state or semi-state or whatever it is. So I think we have aligned with the views, indirectly with the views of Mr. Putin, than the views of the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey.
Yes.
So I think for the security of the Arabs as one community, or as a whole nation, or a whole region, Syria should be united, and also Iraq should be united, not to be, because the moment Syria is divided, Iraq is to be divided, and Lebanon as well, let alone Yemen.
Yes.
So if we started this division, procedures, it will replicate itself in other places.
Yes.
In other places.
Engineer Esطفانوس, one last question, because we're running out of time. You've mentioned the importance of climate change issue, and how there are so many problems that could be lying within dealing with such an issue, especially in Egypt. Now, there has been a lot of emphasis regarding talking about renewable energy in Egypt, and that this could be the future. The energy sector could be a very strong economic cornerstone for the Egyptian economy. Do you feel that we're actually working in the right direction, with the right means and ability to actually really exploit this renewable energy sector, talking about wind energy, talking about solar energy, talking about the nuclear plant that will be in Daba? Do you feel that we're actually going there?
There is always, as I said, bright or attractive titles to be set in some topics, and then they take you to a certain detail and focus on that. and this is what they want to sell. We have, let's say, enjoying that Egypt now is leading Africa in this topic, and President Sisi is delegated from the African leaders to talk on behalf of Africa in this conference. And what I have to say here is that we have to have clear strategy in dealing with this topic as emerging countries, because we should not pay the price of the matured countries to, let's say, take all the benefit of industrial development and over the last 2-3 centuries, and they have built their, let's say, their assets and their infrastructure in this, and now starts putting a lot of barriers and a lot of bans in front of the countries whom they are looking for developing their countries and improve their economy and such things. So the negotiation will be very hard. I do believe that if they want to control the emissions and if they want to look at the sustainable development, they have to participate and to pay all what they have accumulated along centuries from the blood of the other countries.
Yes, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of talk is still remaining regarding the latest UN General Assembly, the 70th session. Also, a lot of promises, a lot of hope is tied to these meetings. We're still going to see how all these things pan out. Also, Egypt will soon should be unveiling its initiative, Hope and Work in coordination with the UN that will attract a lot of the youth that will help in the prosperity of the nations. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. But before we go, I'd like to thank our very distinguished Dr. Samir Burhan, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. I'd also like to thank Engineer Mdhat Esstefanoos, the Vice President of the Egyptian-Greek Business Council. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for more coming up on Nile International. I'm Henny Saif. Thank you for joining us.